He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. Inauthentic. Moi. Hello. I'm H.G. Tudor. As you are aware, the trailer appeared for With Love, Meghan, the latest offering by this one's wife in respect of telling the world how it should cook. Mint galore, it promises to be an extravaganza of beigeness and another opportunity to see how her narcissism controls her behaviour and causes her to appear fake, inauthentic. This one's wife loves to talk about authenticity. She loves to sit in her authenticity. And the arrival of the trailer has been much derided across social media. But let's take a look at what one of the broadsheets thinks about it, and also the broadsheet's readers, so that we can gauge more about how the world regards this Duchess of Industrial Beige. Regularly, her dwindling band of supporters portray those that criticise her as racists, as misogynists, as derangers. But it would appear that surely most of the world can't fall into that category. Kathleen Stock, writing for The Times, tells us, "I have always loved taking something pretty ordinary and elevating it," says the Duchess of Sussex. Definitely not talking about her husband, but about food, in a trailer released last week for her new cooking show. For those already familiar with the televisual oeuvre of the world's most famous sister-in-law, With Love, Meghan looks to follow her usual recipe, an authentic snapshot of a glamorous and inspirational life, storyboarded to the nth degree and with nary a perfectly coiffed hair out of place. An upbeat guitar track jangles as this one's wife spoons unctuous substances into bowls, takes dainty sips from spoons, instructs fawning guests in remedial cooking skills, and sticks labels on jam jars. The viewer has to imaginatively supplement the scores of kitchen assistants hovering anxiously just off screen. "We are not in the pursuit of perfection," says our relatable home cook as a small splash of lemon juice escapes obediently from her citrus squeezer and she emits a high-pitched gasp. Harry pops up briefly in a bit part at the end, furnishing a well-practiced, spontaneous-looking cuddle. Overlaid graphics tell us, somewhat ambitiously, everyone's invited to create wonder in every moment. As I watched the trailer, I mostly wondered whether this latest collaboration between the Sussexes and Netflix would finally grant us merciful release from the ideal of authenticity, as represented on screen, a fantasy that seems to have bewitched the viewing public for several decades. For one thing, the show's prettily folksy food content is about as hackneyed as it gets, replicated on thousands of Instagram accounts elsewhere already. Secondly, it turns out it's not even her kitchen. And third, has there ever been a person so obviously prone to ruthless control freakery about every aspect of self-presentation while purporting to be natural, candid, and real as this one's wife? References to authenticity are an insistent motif throughout her brand. Her biographers, Carolyn Durant, as you know, never been seen since she was involved in Finding Freedom, and the improbably named plastic-faced Lieutenant Omid Scobie, tell us in the book Finding Freedom that most important to Harry, this one's wife came across as authentic. He felt as though he was getting the real this one's wife from day one. When last year the Duchess revealed the name of her new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, a name so random you might have confused it with a what three words location tag, an insider was quoted as saying it was perfect and authentic to her. Over on Instagram, she has just reactivated her account. A trusted source says she will authentically share moments of joy and inspiration from her life. True to upside-down This One's Wife world form, The first video posted features its barefoot heroine on a beach, dressed all in white and jogging self-consciously along in a way that won't mess up her hair, before leaning down to write 2025 carefully with her finger in the sand. Prussian military manoeuvres have looked less planned. Now, pausing there, what this journalist fixes on, and quite rightly, is the fact that this one's wife regularly spouts the shite about being authentic, and yet so much of what she does is performative. Now, we know, because she's a narcissist, that everything that she does when it comes to interacting with another person is in the pursuit of the prime aims and therefore isn't genuine and is performative. But when it comes to her creating things, she thinks that she's being authentic. She thinks that's the authentic her. And because she's stupid and blinded by her narcissism, she fails to recognize that when she talks about being authentic, what she's actually presenting and putting forward is so carefully curated, using that awful word, that it smacks of inauthenticity. And she is unable to see this. She thinks she's being authentic, but in actual fact she's being inauthentic. Each time she stands there and creates something, believing it to be authentic, it is a fabrication, it is an artifice, and more to the point, it's entirely clear to most sensible and reasonable individuals. The article continues, "Yet I suppose there is a sense in which the Duchess indeed may be giving us authenticity. Certainly her new show seems of a piece with earlier ventures. Before meeting her future husband way back in 2014, she set up a lifestyle website called The Tig to complement her acting career. According to Durant and Scobie, it was polished and optimistic and focused on food, fashion and travel, as well as social issues such as gender equality. On its pages, they recount you might find such completely natural outdoor scenes as this one's wife walking a rugged coastline in a perfectly belted camel coat. Later, during the pair's courtship, the authors treat the reader to such unprompted romantic moments as when this one's wife whipped up her signature roast chicken for the prince sitting in her sleek all-white chef's kitchen, while her sweet dogs ran underfoot. Even granting room for such hagiographical gush, one gets a sense that in the actress's head back then, cameras were permanently rolling in service of a future possibly rom-com. And that's correct. As I've explained to you previously, this one's wife essentially believes she's in a film of her life, that there is a soundtrack playing, that there are cameras rolling, because she believes that she is fascinating, interesting, magnetic, and that all the world needs to see this. She doesn't understand that the more that she tries to prove her authenticity, she just comes across as all the more fake. Whatever the truth of the person, the article continues, behind the self-composure and inspirational quotes, we can only hope that the charade of "With Love, Meghan" sounds the death knell for structured reality shows, unscripted dramas, and other such contradictions. Millions of hours of human life have been wasted on sitting slack-jawed in front of these things. When other such programs purport to provide a glimpse behind the curtain into someone's real life, there is, at least usually, a lot of vaguely exciting melodrama to keep us distracted from the fact that each scene was designed by a committee and brutally pruned afterwards into an even more distorted shape. But clearly, by virtue of their sort of royal but not quite status, the Sussexes feel they have to maintain some kind of dignity. And so we aren't allowed to see them screaming at each other after too many whispering angels at a Monty Shit Show baby shower, or to watch with glorious schadenfreude as Meghan's towering croque-en-bouche for Harry's birthday slowly topples over and gets eaten by the dog. Instead, we get repressed and frankly very boring content, whose pretensions to be perfectly open with the viewer only add insult to injury, which is ultimately marvellous, because it allows us to fully take in the artifice of what we are watching. As in the film A Clockwork Orange, we should all be made to watch With Love, Meghan on a loop with our eyelids clamped open, and then never watch another so-called reality show again. An unimpressed review of the trailer and highlighting just how inauthentic this one's wife is. Thus, a journalist writing for a broadsheet is unimpressed. What about the viewers, the readers rather, of that said broadsheet? Chris Franklin writes, she's a third-rate American actress, for goodness sakes, struggling to emulate Nigella. What should we expect? A. Stevens, what 3 words location tag? Brilliant. But as for this one's wife, why are we supposed to still care? Simon McIntosh, this was great. Please come back and write again. Eileen Tyndall, thank you, Kathleen. I enjoyed that. Even the word authentic irritates me. Of course, this one's wife is authentic. She's not a ghost. Chris Finney, wonder if Harry and this one's wife are looking for privacy again, and that's why we're being offered more reality. What a treat. Dennis Cody, authentically awful. J.D. Garcia, pity the author didn't recognise the jangly guitar track as a Loving Spoonful's 1965 hit, Do You Believe in Magic? You may or may not know that the Loving Spoonful was so named as a consequence of talking about jism. Yes, come, along with 10cc. A little bit of music fact for you there. Mandy Moyer, yup, you pretty much pegged her as inauthentic as they come. N. Ryle, my oh my, what a review. Talk about sticking the knife in, just enough to make one think there's murder on the way, but no, it's nothing but a paper cut. This is a keeper. Print it out. John Hughes Wilson nailed the gold-digging fraud in one. Anthony Martin, brilliant takedown. Can't stand the pair of them, I have to say. Their lives are pathetic. Quite frankly, living in Barbie land would be more authentic. No support for this one's wife. Confirmation from the readers that not only is she a banal individual, they second the criticism of her being inauthentic. Yet another review criticising this one's wife and highlighting just how inauthentic she is. Yet this one's wife is still unable to see it. She continues to push the idea of her authentic self, when in actual fact there is no such thing. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.